What would you do if someone walked into your life and called out everything you believed in? They didn't sugarcoat it. They didn't try to make it easier to hear. They just told you the truth, straight, unfiltered, and maybe even a little harsh. Would you listen? Would you change? Or would you get angry? That's what Diogenes the Cynic did. He didn't just live with honesty, he weaponized it. He once said, "Other dogs bite their enemies. I bite my friends to save them." Think about that for a second. Most people bark, they complain, they hint, they dance around the truth. But Diogenes, he bit. He believed that if you care about someone, or even about society, you don't let lies slide. You confront them, even if it's uncomfortable. Today, we're talking about what it means to be that kind of person. Someone who bites, not to hurt, but to wake others up. Welcome to Unexpected Meditations. I'm Ryan, and this episode is about the kind of truth that stings and why we need it. Let me tell you a story about Diogenes. He was famous for walking through the streets in broad daylight, holding a lantern. People would stare, confused. They'd ask him, "What are you doing?" And he'd say, "I'm looking for an honest man." Now on the surface, it sounds ridiculous. Who needs a lantern in the middle of the day? But that was the point. Diogenes was making a statement. Honesty is so rare, it's almost impossible to find. He didn't stop pointing out the problem, he bit. He confronted the lies people live with every day. The man who claimed to be virtuous, but secretly chased wealth. The person who bragged about generosity, but only gave to be admired. The person who built their lives on appearances instead of substance. Diogenes didn't just expose these things, he mocked them, loud and publicly. It wasn't polite, it wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. How many lies do we live with every day? Small ones, big ones, things we tell ourselves, things we let slide in others. We scroll through social media and think everyone else has it figured out. Lie. We tell ourselves, "I'm happy with this job, this relationship, this version of my life." Maybe true, maybe not. We hear friends making excuses or avoiding something important, and instead of saying something, we stay quiet. Why? Because it's easier. We think we're being kind, but Diogenes would call us out on that. He'd say, "That's not kindness, it's fear." True kindness is biting them when it matters. It's saying the hard things because you care, not because you want to hurt someone, but because you want them to see what they're missing. I'll be honest, there was a time when someone bit me, and it stung. I had a friend who called me out on something I didn't want to hear. They told me I was avoiding responsibility for something in my life. Something I knew deep down needed to change. At first, I got defensive. Who wouldn't? But after I sat with it for a while, I realized they were right. And because they cared enough to bite, I was able to make a change that I wouldn't have made on my own. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. That's the kind of honesty Diogenes stood for. So how do you bring this into your own life? How do you be the dog that bites without crossing the line into cruelty? Here are 3 things to try. Start small. The next time you notice a friend make an excuse or avoiding something important, say something. Be kind, but be honest. Try, "I know this might be hard to hear, but here's what I see." Be open to getting bitten. Ask someone you trust to give you feedback on something you might not see about yourself. It's uncomfortable, but it could be transformative. Bite your own lies. Take one belief you've been holding on to about yourself, your goals, or your relationships, and challenge it. Ask, is this really true, or am I avoiding something? Diogenes wasn't afraid to confront the uncomfortable truths, even when it made people feel uneasy. But that's what made him stand out. Not just his boldness, but his belief that honesty, no matter how harsh, could wake people up. So, here's the question. Are you willing to bite when it matters? Are you willing to speak up when staying silent feels easier? And just as importantly, are you willing to let others bite you, to call you out when you're stuck in your own illusions? The truth stings, but it also sets us free. Thank you for listening to this episode of Unexpected Meditations. If this struck a chord with you, share it with someone who isn't afraid of a little honesty. Until next time, take care, and remember, barking is easy, but the bite is what makes the difference.